Hey folks, Twisted Christian here. I'm going to be going over Zion oil and gas a little bit here. In this video, I'm going to show you and compare the news that was being released when they first were spudding the well and kind of compare it to the price and what maybe we could expect. Alright, and I think at this point right now that I don't think that, we're not going to see the $50 a barrel until later on. So I know there's a lot of talk like that. People talk 50, 100. I think we're still going to be waiting a long time for that. And if you are waiting on oil discovery, one of the things that I did discuss in past videos is that technically within 30 days, they could drill the oil, test it, and then they'd be able to make their announcement on the grade of oil and all its other test results. That's very possible. But I will say that according to Zion Oil, is what I'm showing you right here, is that this whole project from drilling all the way to the testing and the evaluation of the reservoir could take up to 5 months. Alright, so over those 5 months, you are going to see this stock fluctuate. So you're going to see it go up, you're going to go see it go down, and if you're just holding on waiting for oil, for Zion Oil to hit oil, you might be waiting a long time. So that's one of the reasons why, and I'm not a financial advisor, I'm not an expert in the oil field or the oil industry or anything like that. I'm just giving you my research and telling you what I'm doing. Because there are going to be times when that stock is going to be up at $3 and then it's going to go back down to $2, $1.50. Those things can happen. And especially if you have delays. And as you see with their last release, they didn't even really get started until January 6th, which means there was a whole 2 weeks of time that nothing was really done. Because remember, we thought that they would by the middle of December they would be drilling. So, and that's one of the things here with this is we go through the history. There are delays, and so they did not get the oil results and all of that till actually a long time, going back into 2018, because that's when they were making some of their results and what they were going to do with the MJ101 well. Alright, so I have here Wall Street Journal, ZNOG, the advanced chart. I have this link down below in the description so you can go and check it out. And I pulled up a certain timeline, and the timeline is when they first were getting ready to drill MJ01. So I'll be going back and forth between the updates and the chart. So here on March the 9th, 2017, they made an announcement: Zion Oil and Gas on track to spud well in Israel in April. And that was on March 9th. So actually on March 9th, because it looked like the stock price was a little bit higher, it did drop a little bit on that particular day. But when they did make that announcement, really just very little movement as far as the price. So we can't expect, there's a lot of people that expect on every update that the stock is going to shoot up. And there's a lot of people that are waiting to take advantage of that. And which means that they think that you're going to go in and buy and expect this big jump when it's actually when the price is going to end up going down. So as you can see here, there's, they do updates. And apparently here, operational update April 21st, 2017. And of course, there was a little bump. It went up about 9 cents. And then it went back down to like 115, 121 for the remainder of the month of April. Made a press release, the end of April. Zion Oil and Gas appoints new directors. So through the end, it looks like through the end of April, there was just a steady rise going into May. Now keep in mind, they did say that they were on track to spud the well in April, right? So they were behind. So the next piece of news was on May 15th, 2017. It says it right here: with the raising of the derrick, Zion Oil and Gas will commence and accept testing in preparation for spudding its Megiddo Jezreel #1 well. Alright, so that was on May 15th, 2017. So before then, you saw a steady rise here back in May 1st, 2nd, got up to 164, kind of came down to 150. By May 10th, it was 196. And then on the day of the announcement, the stock was at it closed out at 170. The next day it closed out at 170. So it wasn't much movement. Actually went down after that May 15th announcement. So for the remainder of the month of May, it looks like it continued just to slide. Right? And the next update after that was June 4th, where they begin the spudding. So towards the end of May, even though they had some of those those press releases, didn't really have an impact on the stock. They're basically from the time that they raised the rig here on May 15th, they started drilling approximately 3 weeks later. So we got the same news that they were drilling MJ102. So here on June 4th, 2017, okay, June 1st, ZNOG Oil and Gas was around $1.41. Next day, $1.40. And the announcement came on a weekend. The second was on a Friday. The news came out on the 4th, June 4th. The stock closed out at 152. So it did end up closing out higher. It could have actually went higher that day, but I'm assuming that this is the close where it closed out at. And then from there, it just continued to rise. A couple days after, it was $1.79. Then it looks like here it kind of hovered in the 70s. Then around a week later, it starts to head up slowly up to the $2 mark. So that was in between the time. That's in between the time of the announcement and then, of course, the next update. So June 4th. All right, so the next update after that was June 19th. And that's ZNOG Oil and Gas reaches first casing point at a depth of 1,950 feet. All right, so that update came about 2 weeks later. So they did announce they started drilling in 2 weeks later around June the 19th. So where does that, what does history show us? So between June 4th, there just basically began a steady rise. And right before June 18th, it actually hit $2. And on the day of the announcement, it hit $2.75. Then, of course, it looks like people started taking profits. Slid down for a day. And it kind of went up and kept a steady, as you can see on the chart, it kept a steady slide upward. So that was June 19th. So July 5th was a new update, which is, again, about 2 weeks from their last announcement. And this one here says, and it's giving an update as far as how much they've actually drilled. 3,280 feet. Okay, and they were trying to hit 15,000 feet. So you can see how long this actually can take. So when that July 5th update came out, the stock had already begun to ascend on a daily basis. All right, so I believe the 3rd was on a Friday, and that Friday before the announcement, stock was at $3.54. The announcement came on the 5th. The stock closed out at $3.87, so it did go up by 30 cents, and from there on the 6th, it was up to $4.23, and by the 7th, it was up to $5.88. So that's where it hit its peak, where it hit the $5 mark. After that, then that's where you see about $1.90 drop in the stock. A lot of people were taking profits. I don't know if maybe ZNOG Oil sold off some shares. Between July 5th and July 20th, it's about 2 weeks before another update. So we see a pattern. While they're drilling here in the beginning, the update's about every 2 weeks. Between its peak on the 7th of July, so over time between the 7th and the 20th, that's almost a 2 week period. We kind of hovered over there in the lower $4 range. And then before the announcement, there was another rise. And then the stock hit $5.21. The next day after that, went down to about $5. And then there was a steady decline. All right, and then their next update is August the 9th, 2017. The time between updates, between that one was about 20 days, so a little bit longer than 2 weeks. So we can see here, we can see a pattern of about every 2 weeks they release some type of update. All right, and with those updates, we did see rises and we saw dips. So there's people taking profits all along the way, and they're getting back in, and that's what we're trying to do. What I'm trying to do is, if I see a historical pattern, right? So if we see the stock go up, doesn't mean if the stock starts to go up, doesn't mean it's just going to shoot up to $50 or $12. Judging by the history and looking at how investors look at oil stocks with a company like this in position, they're always looking for that spud date. And you can tell from here by looking at this, several days after the announcement of the drilling, right, it began to slowly ascend, right, to each update. Now, you got to think about it, folks. This is going to take 5 months, right, as long as there's no delays. All right, and you can see here, just going all the way for the rest of the year. And after it hit that peak of $5.88, it was just a slow decline. So when you look at the history and you look to see what happens, some news is released and then you don't see something until the next day, right? And sometimes maybe investors are catching on, whatever the case is. And then you watch for those news releases on those days. So the stock is going to go up, it's going to come down. So that's why we have to try to learn how to take advantage of those. Between June 4th on the announcement and then all the way up to their July 7th update, which is where they were a lot deeper in drilling, is where it really took off. And one of the things is that, like I said, this thing, they could have a very easy time drilling to where they need to go. And they said, somebody had said the rule of thumb is a day for every 1,000 feet. So if they have to go to 17,000, 18,000 feet, that's at least 18 days. And that does not include any downtime. That doesn't include interruptions. And that also doesn't include the type of terrain that they're drilling in. And that could be very tough where they are drilling at. I think I've heard that multiple times in videos and things that I've read, that the environment is kind of tough. I'm going to run through a little bit of some of these updates. So on July 20th, they reached the mile. And then, of course, they update again August 9th, which is about 19 days, 20 days. There's a video update on August 31st. Video update from the CEO. September 20th, 2017, they released an update. So looking back on that chart, an update in between that time, it looks like the price just kind of, basically the price looked like it went down at several days after this release. And it was just where they're at their depth of 9,200 feet. And their total depth is 15,000 feet. So from the time they started drilling on June the 4th up until September 20th, June, July, August, September, so 3.5 months, they got to 10,000 feet. That's a long time. So, but I also believe that because of the technology has changed since this time period, and they know a lot more information, and they have more background, that they're going to get this, they'll be able to get this done a lot quicker than what they did in 2017. Update October 12th, 2017. Another update November 2nd, 2017. So you can look at the price and you can look at each update, but the most important updates, and you can see there was no announcement of oil from June 4th through December. Okay, on February 13th, 2018, press release, Zion Oil and Gas encounters oil. So going back into January, it's hovering, it's hovering around in the low $2 mark. There's a spike here of 269, then it slides back down to the 230 mark. And on the day of the announcement, it jumps from $2.30 to $4.30. So it was a $2 jump. The next day it closed out at $4.35. The next day after that, $4.04. $4.04, jump back up to $4.47. $4.19. $4.28. So it just kind of hovers there. Let's see what other news there was. On February 26th, Zion Oil and Gas successfully drills, logs, and cases deep Israel well. So February 26th. The day before is 428, closes out at 437. The next day after that, 408, 406. So you can see, like I said, how it's going to bounce. And this is not showing you what the high or the low of. You can probably go in and get that for each one, but that's a lot of work. So very well could be that it may have went higher, but maybe that's just the closing price there. Now each article has specific information in it, and if it was any negative news, you probably would have saw a further, a further drop. And here, March 28th, 2018. Like I said, if you look at the difference, this 26th of February was an update, and then again on March the 28th. So you're talking about a whole month in between that. So what happened in March? Yeah, so during that time period, it looks like a lot of anticipation, hovering in the mid $4.50 range, and then it just, before that announcement, it jumps up over $5, $5.53 on the 21st, $5.35 on the 26th. Then it drops dramatically from the 26th. On the next trading day, it dropped down to $3.96. Then it jumps back up to $4.76. So you see those jumps. $5.35 on the 26th. Then on the 28th, $3.96. On the 29th, $4.76. For months, they're just kind of giving updates. And then here on August of 2018, they confirm an active petroleum system. So August 15th, the day before, was at $2.30. The day of the announcement was $2.52. The next trading day after that was $1.84. For what the announcement here was basically that it looks like the barrel fluid per day wasn't that great, and they still didn't know if they had questions as far as the viability of that particular well. So when that took place, that's when the stock dropped, right? And from there it went down. From there it just continued to slide. So the reason why I did this was to show you guys just as far as, how the stock could react to the different pieces of news that do come out in their operational updates. Let's go back one more time and kind of review what to expect according to history, right? That doesn't mean there's going to be a lot of other influences. The way this economy is, this is a virus economy, so there might be other factors that influence. But to say from the announcement all the way up until they started drilling, you could see how it slowly went up, and there are times it's going up and down. So you guys really need to put yourselves into a position, and you need to be prepared that if at any time, say for instance, they do announce a delay, the stock is going to drop. So if you have, say, 1,000 stocks and it's at $2.30, and they release an update, and the next you know, people are selling off, you want to be ahead of the game and make sure that you have your stop loss in also too as well. And if you don't know what that is, you need to research that, because as you can see, the ups and the downs, And a lot of people are going to be holding on to their stocks, and they're going to see their stock go all the way up. They can see their stock go up to the 477, and then they're not going to sell. They're just holding, right? But it's gonna come back down. The whole entire history, everything that I showed you, everything in the drilling, everything, even the announcement, the first announcement of finding oil, without even being tested, the grade or anything, it barely got over $5. So keep that in mind, folks. That's why I say I don't think this thing is ready to do that, but you never know. Things could change. And like I said, when it comes to the drilling, it may not take as long, but we need to anticipate 5 months of the stock going up and down. And this is where we need to take advantage. So I'm expecting an update from Zion Oil within the next week or so, right? Because we just got one on the 6th. So actually, okay, so the next update we should be getting from Zion Oil, and they could come anytime, but from history, it came about 2 weeks after. So today is the 8th, so we might get a short update saying they reached 3,000 feet, maybe in a week, but let's look for one within 2 weeks, right? But let's also anticipate an update as far as where they are at in their drilling. And see, a lot of people were probably worried, and a lot of people are always worried about, missing out on the opportunity. And there's plenty of opportunities here. Looking at this. And this is, especially for a lot of companies that are in the same position, that have operational updates, you're going to experience the same thing. What we need to look for also is when Zion Oil is going to be selling off some stocks to raise money. So that'll be the thing that I'm looking for at the 477. If this thing goes up on the next operational update, we're looking for $1 from $1.40 to $2.75. So that's the first operational update. Then we have the 588 update when it went up to 588. The day on July the 3rd, basically the trading day before the announcement, the stock was at $3.54. On July 5th, it was $3.87 on the day of the announcement. On the 6th, it was $4.23, and on the 7th of July, it was $5.88. Right, and then we saw a $1.80, $1.90 drop until the 20th, which was the next operational update. And on the 18th, it was $4.21. On the 19th, it was $4.75. On the 20th, it was $5.21. After that, it was at $5.01. All right, folks, so I hope you guys learned something about the history of Zion Oil, and that you can apply this to your day trading or however you plan on trading, and a strategy of getting out and getting back in. And a lot of people are afraid to sell off, fearing that it won't go back down. But if you look at this plan, you look at the history, and that it's going to take 5 months for them to complete this whole entire thing, then you know that there's always going to be opportunity to get back in. Until that point, right? Because at some point, it's going to be at a point where you're not going to be able to just buy, 1,000 stocks at the price where it's at now. So what I'm looking for here is also a steady rise, according to what we saw from the announcement on the 4th. There was a small steady rise up until that July 5th announcement. Right, so a month later, it was at $5.88. So maybe what I'll do is I will print out this graph and put the dates and the times on there and post it as a separate Patreon post, so you guys have that, so you can see the history. So that's going to take a little bit of time for me to do that. So I hope you guys, like I said, I hope you guys learned something, and that we can apply this, and we can gain some wealth in the process of while we wait for the dinar and in other investments that will take off. Anyways, folks, I thank you for listening. God bless. And with that being said, Twitch and Christian out.